courtesy of Professional Pride Realty. We're going to be visiting with Todd Bornhauser. He's with us this morning. He's the Chamber President in Northfield, the Northfield Area Chamber of Commerce President. Todd Bornhauser with us this morning. I know Lisa Peterson, the Tourism Director, was with us last time we visited and possibly was going to be with us today, but she was not able to join us, right, Todd?
She could not make it this morning, so we'll have to have a discipline session when I get back to the office.
No, that's okay. But I will miss her.
Well, she's the better half, so we're
No
gonna have to struggle through today.
No offense, but I'm sure we can handle it, Todd. I'm sure we can do very well. Obviously, people in Northfield going through the same thing that people here in Faribault and in Waseca are going through, the flooding issues.
It's been a rough couple of weeks. We've had a couple of businesses that have sandbagged not once but twice so far this summer, but we made it through. A lot of support from the community. It's always great when that stuff, when things like this happen. It's amazing who turns out. So we're making it through.
Well, we've been through it before. These communities all along the river know what flooding's about.
That was really what the chief of police talked about. That they had gone through this in 2010. They had learned a lot of lessons, and so it really helped, especially this year. Of course, it also helped that it was 6 feet less.
Yes.
Than it was in 2010. But a lot of preparation. But you still are at you're just at that cusp of it becoming another foot, and it could have been disastrous for a few people.
Right. Are you aware of any damages in Northfield other than Laird Stadium? I know it's flooded out, so Carleton's homecoming football game this Saturday has to be played at Northfield High School.
Other than that, I think most everybody was okay. What really happened. What's interesting is the flooding that occurs, especially along the river, is not dirty water that's running in, but it's actually groundwater. The pressure of the river being so high forces groundwater to come up in the basements of these buildings. So, it's probably the best of a worse situation in the fact that you're just trying to get rid of clean water, and so you don't have the cleanup is so much easier, but still it's kind of funny to watch pure clean water bubbling up out of the bottom, basements.
You're talking about the basements of the businesses.
Basement of the businesses
that are along the river.
Right.
Laird Stadium, I'm sure, is dealing with flood water. I mean, actually,
they are in that case. They're dealing with flood water there. Yes, it just it gets so high, it just kind of overflows.
Well, that bank, the river bank, is right. I mean, it butts the back of Laird Stadium.
It really does. It really does. I was amazed how close that is. So, it could probably build add some more gravel or big rocks back there. But
well, I don't think the DNR allows that.
I don't, so, but you can only do so much, and then part of it is that's just the nature of the ball game.
Yeah, it's a natural waterway, and that bank is eroding. Well, over the 12, 13 years I've been doing Carleton sports, of course, I drive behind there to go to home basketball games at West Gym.
Right.
And I've noticed it gets narrower and narrower and narrower. It won't be long now you won't even be able to drive behind there.
Right. So, a sad situation, but we'll get through this. So hopefully, the 100-year flood's now come 3 times in the last 10 years.
I know, isn't that amazing? It's actually, I think, been 2010. We've had 3 in the last 6 years.
Right. They seem to be hitting on odd numbers.
It's just bizarre.
Typically you think of flooding, you think of springtime, lots of snow. The snow melts, you get some ice dams. The last few have been in late fall, which is just really kind of something that you really don't prepare. But the other thing that's happened is that many years ago you could drive by and fields were full of water. And the farmers have tiled enough that their fields are the water's getting out of those fields. They're not sitting full of water, but it has to go somewhere, and so it's just where you typically could have some time storage out in fields, and then it slowly trickles into the river. It doesn't do that anymore.
Right.
So.
I'm glad you brought that up, Todd, because I want to touch on that a little bit more in our next segment. But right now we've got to get our opening market report, a service of your KDHL Agri Boosters. Again, Professional Pride Realty of Northfield bringing you our AM Minnesota program, a special look at what's happening in Northfield. It'll be every last Wednesday of the month. here on the Mighty 920. They got a very special event in October we want to tell you. They have locations in Owatonna, Hollandale, Belle Plaine, also Osage and Northwood, Iowa, and Northland Buildings for quality post-frame construction. Head to the website northlandbuildings.com. AM Minnesota Today, again, a service of Professional Pride Realty in Northfield.
Whether you're buying or selling in today's real estate market, let the dedicated agents at Professional Pride Realty of Northfield assist you in the process. Whether it's preparing your home to sell, searching for your dream home, or walking you through the mortgage process, they take pride in what they do and provide customers with the finest service. Contact locally owned and operated Professional Pride Realty at 507
And Todd Bornhauser is with us. He is the president of the Northfield Area Chamber of Commerce. We were touching a bit on the flooding in Northfield, and you had mentioned about the farm fields, and I got to thinking that earlier this week I stopped by Mankey's in Owatonna. They got flooded again this time, and visited with Harley, and he brought up a good point. In their previous location across the road from where they're located now, they had a gravel parking lot driveway, and the water had a place to go. Now it's code that they have to have a concrete driveway, right, or
Right.
parking lot, and where's the water going to go?
Well, that's why you see all of those small retention ponds in all new developments or businesses, or in some circumstances they're building them underground water storage units because they just don't have land to put a retention pond on. So there's all those challenges that come on with as we increase development, and they all have implications.
And across the road from there, and I know we're not here to talk about Owatonna, but across the road from there they put up a big apartment complex. Guess where it's right next to the river.
Right.
The apartment complex. Huge. They have underground garages next to the river.
And sometimes you build that stuff, and you just plan that if there's a flood coming, that some of that access, some of that parking automatically will flood, and you just have to let the residents know or what have you. So there's a lot of things that you can do to mitigate that, but obviously we're not necessarily equipped anymore to handle the amount of rain that we've got
Right.
over here. And,
Yeah, you don't expect the violent rain events that we've had.
Yeah, we really don't. And it's so interesting when we try to explain to people that the water is running up, is running north, not running south.
Everybody is a bit perplexed by that.
And so for communities like Northfield, it may not have rained as much in Northfield, but if it has rained more down south, it just raises red flags. And so why they have monitoring stations, from Owatonna all the way up,
Yep.
so that they can look at that and make those calculations that say, hey, better get out there and get some sandbagging done.
Now, the good news for Northfield is you're not first in the chain.
We're not first in the chain.
You know what I'm saying? When the water's coming up, you get some fair warning that you're going to have flood.
Right, absolutely. You know that, and so you can rally the troops. Some of those businesses have sandbags permanently on pallets that they can just get delivered and dropped off. But also just the community getting involved. The high school. The call went out to the high school, and so there were quite a few students. Yeah, I think they had over 200 students that volunteered. They didn't use that many, but just to say if could they have permission to come out and help sandbag, and that was great. And some of the sports teams that also came out and helped as well. So really a lot of community involvement. Now we got to get it on the other side. So there's always this big help to get all the sandbags out and set and ready to go, and then the waters recede, and then finding those volunteers to get those things back collected and broken down sometimes is a little bit more difficult. So.
Yeah, but I'm pretty confident you'll get them because you have a very high volunteerism rate in Northfield.
Absolutely. So just got to remember that there's the two sides to any flood: the prep work and then the work afterwards.
Right.
So.
No closures of any streets in the town that you're aware of?
They closed the one of the streets over bridges over the river, Water Street Bridge. Basically, I think just because of some concerns. There's that water gets really violent once it comes across the dam.
It's booking pretty good anyway, right?
It was amazing to see, how fast that was going, and the amount of water is just mind-boggling. But other than that, there was a couple others closures because there's a couple other areas in the city where there's some flooding that goes along as well. So
Yeah, lots of debris down. I know some trees down. I think because the ground's so saturated, they just tumble over.
yeah, the big concern, really was as it got higher and higher, there was a lot less room underneath the bridge. A concern of, if you had some big trees that got caught underneath the bridge, now you have a natural dam, and that causes so much pressure on the bridges. So you got to keep all those things into consideration.
So how long have you lived in Northfield?
I have lived in Northfield 25 years. So
has there been a lot of work in that area in terms of flood diversion projects or anything?
I think just become a little bit smarter about how to handle that water. I think as new developments come and get built, obviously they have retention ponds. I mean, that's in planning lots and neighborhoods. That was one way that they handled that, so that you just weren't dumping water into the sewer system. So I've seen a lot of that over the last 20 years that I've been there as new developments have come in. But we've still got areas where we started a development, it went bankrupt, it didn't get finished. So you had some really drainage issues in certain areas that you need to go back and correct.
In our lifetimes, I'm assuming that we're about the same age. In our lifetimes, we've seen communities that used to put raw sewage into rivers. We've become smarter about all
Right, absolutely. So the next thing is, how do you get stormwater out of your sewer system so you're not processing that as well, and extending the life of your processing plants, and those things have become more and more costly. So I don't know, here in Faribault, obviously very close to the river, and I think some emergency sandbagging had to happen there.
Updating infrastructure in these communities. We're both older communities, Northfield and Faribault, so that all has to continue too, is upgrading the infrastructure.
Yeah, you're finding now it's not only just repairing the streets, but it's repairing the infrastructure that goes along with that, and can become quite costly.
I mean, the water plant here in Faribault is right along the water, the river. And so, Senator Amy Klobuchar was in town on Sunday and got a tour of the water plant, because they'd like to put up a permanent structure to protect the plant, instead of having to put up a temporary dike every time it floods, which, as you noted earlier, is now 3 times in the last 6 years.
Right, absolutely.
DNR has been somewhat opposed to that, so it'll be interesting to see what happens.
Yeah, what's the balance? I'm not sure, if you have raw sewage flowing down the Keenan River,
kind of my point,
if the DNR is going to be any happier about that or not. I think there's always has to be trade-offs, and that always becomes the difficult part of the process, and we see that in politics all the time. Are you willing to give and compromise? What are we wanting to do to achieve the best possible outcome at the end?
And that's why we're in a bit of a, I'm glad you brought up the politics thing, a bit of a dilemma now, because nobody seems to want to give.
No.
They want to take, but they don't want to give, and that's not how the process is supposed to work. But we're here to talk about other things chamber related, and I noticed on your website, I like your website, by the way.
Well, thank you very, very much. I have nothing to do with it, and that's why it's so
good. Oh, you
don't?
No.
I have my staff that takes care of that.
Okay, they do a great job. There's a poster on your website about a special event coming up on October 28th, Beyond Bourbon Street, Spirits and Spirits Ball, that you guys are sponsoring.
Absolutely. It's our first forte into a fall event. I was used to doing one at the previous chamber that I had, and it was a great social. We called it the premier social event of that town, so we're calling this the premier social event of Northfield. Not to take away from some of the other events that go on, but we're going to just run with that and go with it. But an opportunity for our members to maybe get dressed up a little bit and have a nice evening out. A lot of us don't do that anymore, and so really looking forward to a great evening with starting out with a social hour, then we'll have dinner, we'll have a live auction, we'll have a wine and wall drawing, we'll have some silent and live auction items as well, and then we'll have a jazz band playing and some gaming tables upstairs. So really just kind of a fun evening for people to socialize. Hopefully our businesses have been doing some sponsorship as well, and bring out either some clients or bring out their staff for really kind of a fun gathering, get together, and of course raise some money for the chamber.
This is at the Grand Event Center.
Up at the Grand Event Center, and Chuck Pryor, who owns that, has put together a fantastic menu for us, I'm told, and so will be some great food that night as well. So.
Which, if people, facilities to host wedding receptions, there aren't a ton of them. So this is a place where people can consider if they've got a wedding reception.
Absolutely,
right?
Absolutely. You're right. There we have some great facilities, and the colleges, both Carleton and St. Olaf, have outstanding facilities. But those are used really on for the public, kind of on the off-peak, or when students aren't in. Their student population is their number one priority, and we understand that. So you have some access to those if the students aren't there on campus. But otherwise, we are kind of limited in where we can for large crowds. But the Grand is a fantastic venue. So.
This will be on October 28th, and it is open to the public. Of course.
Open to the public, and go onto our website. www.northfieldchamber.com, and click onto the Spirits and Spirits Ball flyer, and can register. The cost for individual tickets is $65, and again, all of those money that we're raising for this event will then help pay for staff, keep lights on, and continue the great programming that we're able to do at the Chamber.
Right, it's a Chamber fundraiser.
Chamber fundraiser, yes.
Northfield Area Chamber. It really does sound like fun. Beyond Bourbon Street, Spirits and Spirits Ball, and I'll let you describe the poster there. You've got a skeleton.
Well, it's a little scary for me, but there's a nice gentleman there, and his tux with a martini glass, but of course, and top hat on, but was that a skeleton head?
And then a skeleton head. Same with the lady.
Same way with the lady in a nice dress and a beautiful hat. So yeah, should be a fun time.
Spirits.
One of those things that you always don't want to try to do is everyone says, oh, you ought to have a costume party for Halloween, which always sounds great until say, oh, do you want to wear a costume? And everyone goes, well, no, I don't really want to do that. So hopefully this is a little take on that, but it's a costume is not necessary. So.
But you could wear one if you wanted to.
I suppose we're not going to turn you away if you want to wear one. So.
I mean, it's a fundraiser for the Northfield Area Chamber. So make sure you get on over there, folks. Spirits and Spirits Ball, October 28th. We have some more stuff we want to cover. Right now, let's hear from our sponsor today, Professional Pride Realty.
In today's real estate market, let the dedicated agents at Professional Pride Realty of Northfield assist you in the process.
Jody Gunderson, who's with Professional Pride Realty, she's on our board, and said she would run with us. So she worked with By All Means Graphics, Rob Shanley, and his staff is great.
507-663-1100. Find out more about their personalized service at Professional Pride Realty.
Yeah, sometime we're going to have to visit with the folks from Professional Pride Realty, talk about the housing market in Northfield. Todd Bornhauser is with us. He is the president of the Northfield Area Chamber of Commerce, and we were just chatting off the air, and you were telling me that it was someone from Professional Pride Realty that came up with that flyer.
Yeah, Jody Gunderson is one of their realtors. She sits on our board of directors, and worked with Rob Shanley down at By All Means Graphics to come up with this. So both great. Rob does a lot of work for both the Chamber and the Convention and Visitor Bureau, and some art design. So it's great to have those people.
Say, before I forget, how did the Feet of Jesse James days go?
Went well. Obviously the wet weather there, had to move a couple different items around. I
thought the carnival in the former Kmart parking lot was a great idea.
It worked out well in the end, and so it's one of those things where you don't like to make change, and when you do, people kind of initial a lot of naysayers, a few complaints, but at the end of the day, it was much better to be out there than to have the Ferris wheel, sink into the mud and tip over into the Cannon River. You got to be, safety is number one, and so you have to look out for that. And if the facilities just aren't, are too wet to be able to hold, the equipment safely, then you need to be looking at option B. And so I thought the committee did a great job. Those decisions had to be made last minute. That's a volunteer board. This was not something that that they just made haphazard. There's a lot of thought and process that went into it. So I think overall, it was a great event. We were downtown, and it seemed extremely busy all weekend long. And so I've heard lots of positive comments about it.
But
so.
having the carnival out there released some of the pressure you would have had downtown with parking,
Just a little bit, again, the rodeo grounds were a little wet, so you had not as much parking available out there as well. But if it was 2 weeks later, the rodeo grounds had about 2.5 feet of water on. So, some of the things is we got very fortunate when it was, and the minimal amount of changes that we had to make were great. And the fact that we weren't having to cancel the entire event, which we would have had to do last weekend. There was no way we were going to be able to do that.
Largest all-volunteer celebration in Minnesota.
It's amazing, isn't it? So all of our we have paid staff at the chamber, but we also utilize volunteers for some of our events as well. But I admire what that committee does and the work that they put into it. So
you have a terrific event during the holiday season called Winter Walk, and last year a movie was shot in Northfield.
Yes, it was. Kind of last minute. They were kind of scouting someplace to shoot a wintertime movie. And we told them that, well, if you want to come and see Northfield, you ought to come, December 9th, because Winter Walk will be that night. So they flew out from California. Had a couple other areas that they were going to scout, but Northfield was their first stop, fell in love with it, and then did some what you would call background scene shooting the night of Winter Walk. So I'm excited. I want to see what pictures got utilized, or what they were able to incorporate into the movie, because I have not seen it myself. But very exciting. And then came back in early January for about 4 weeks and filmed the rest of the production there. Went back to California to edit, do a lot of work, and then see how they could sell, or who they might be able to sell this to. And Hallmark has purchased the rights to the movie and will be part of their Christmas lineup this year. So this movie will premiere on Sunday, November 6th at 8 o'clock Central Time. So you can see the movie's called Love Always Santa.
Is this going to be on the Hallmark Channel?
Will be on the Hallmark Channel, yes. So it's one of their 22 new movies that they have coming out this year.
22.
Yeah, I couldn't believe that amount. So if I can read here, their log line is, after losing her husband Bradley 3 years ago on Christmas Day, Celia Banks never thought she'd fall in love again. Now her entire world revolves around taking care of her daughter Lily. Lily writes a letter to Santa with one wish: for her mommy to be happy and find love again.
Wow.
So
almost let a tear roll down my cheek.
Well, I'm sure I'll have quite a few run down my cheek, but we're just excited to be able to do that. It's truly amazing, and and it all started by Lisa and I heading to a conference, meeting Troy with the Minnesota TV and Film, and making that connection, talking a little bit about how we could make Northfield an area destination, and 3 months later that all came together. So Northfield's in a unique position. It's just far enough out of the metro that it offers some other incentives that are available for movie production as well. And then when you take a downtown, it looks like a movie set. It's not all the same looking building. They weren't all built at the same time. You've got brick, you've got limestone, you've got a whole different selection of buildings that are there. You've got two colleges that have very unique looks to them, a lot of old Victorian homes. But you've got farmland right out, you've got river, you've got woods, so you have all the makings for a lot of different things.
Yeah, you could shoot westerns, all kinds of things there.
So yeah, you could do anything that you wanted out there, And our community was very receptive. They had a warm welcome, and that's what we were looking for. So that the directors, Mike and Lori Leahy, walk back and then pass along that message that this was a great community to work with. They were very flexible and accommodating, and
So they might come again.
well, I know they're out filming something else because we had talked about doing a kind of a premiere, and unfortunately they've got another job, another film that they're moving on, so it just didn't work out as well. But we have somebody else scouting out right now to do another, small budget film in Northfield, and that looks very good. We might be having the second one filmed out in Northfield in November.
Are the stars in this movie recognizable names?
Not anybody that's recognizable, although the little girl actually came from Minneapolis, St. Paul. And so my wife and daughter and mom were down at the Guthrie last night. I think the watching Sense and Sensibility. I think
she was in that.
And she was in that. She was there were two of them. They take turns, obviously, because they're, she's a ninth grader this year. Yeah. But she actually was performing last night. So my daughter Kate said, "Hey, look, Mom, we know her. She was in the movie, Hallmark movie." So truly amazing, how those worlds bridge along and come together. So we're just really excited. So
could you repeat that date for us?
It is November 6th, which is a Sunday night, and that will be 9 o'clock Eastern, so 8 o'clock Central Time. So, and I think we have Charter at our house. I think there's 2 Hallmark channels, and so yeah, I'm one of those 2. So
2 days before the election.
2 days before the election. I'm sure we'll see this movie quite a bit, since it's getting released early. So
it's kind of a tearjerker. It's a heartwarming.
It's
story,
a typical
obviously.
Hallmark movie.
Right.
So you're a really manly man type guy.
No,
I doubt
really.
you'll shed a tear. I of course will have to sit with a box of Kleenex.
Yeah, no, I'd be the same way.
Because I cry through every one of them, and my kids give me a hard time. But that's okay. Part of my tears here will be I'll actually know the location and the businesses that are being filmed. They use the Hideaway Coffee and Wine Bar as a location, and used a Content Bookstore as well.
My favorite movies are ones that make you feel. So I can enjoy a little tear down the cheek. If a movie moves me to that, then they've done a good job. Is the way I look at it. Or if I'm rolling on the floor in laughter, you know what I'm saying? I love movies that make you feel whatever the emotions they want you to feel. So thanks, Todd. Appreciate you being in today.
My pleasure.
Thanks to Professional Pride Realty for making this show possible. You're in tune to KDHL AM, Faribault, Minnesota.